This video is going to cover the two resources provided about universal design. First, just to go over, this is the page from AHEAD, which is the Association on Higher Education and Disability, which is a professional organization looking at how to ensure the full participation of individuals with disabilities in post-secondary education. One thing to note on this is that we have a legal requirement as a state institution in Texas to fully fulfill all of the Section 508 guidelines for accessibility in everything that we present to students and how we operate as a university. So though this is not covered by federal law, state law requires that we fully meet everything that's required at the federal level for accessibility in anything presented through a website service or using campus computing resources. So universal design is this initiative was launched again, as the head states, to dynamically address current and emerging issues with respect to disability, education, and accessibility to ensure or to achieve universal access. So we have this challenge, this mandate to us, but the technology is developing to the point now to help us with it and to make accessibility not just something to think about, but something that we can achieve without much additional trouble. We just have to kind of think a little bit about how we design things. So AHEAD provides some resources that I would ask you to go through and look at and to see both for on the resources and how we can help fulfill that. This is just to indicate that there is a push in higher education to try to meet this challenge instead of waiting for a student to enroll that we have to accommodate, but to look at how we design our courses from the beginning so that they're accessible and we don't have to worry about that. The second thing we're going to look at is from the National Center on Universal Design for Learning, looking at their Universal Design or UDL guidelines. This is the second version. Going through the three main areas that we provide multiple means of representation, looking at both for perception, looking at language, looking at comprehension, multiple means of action and expression, physical action, expression and communication, and executive function, and then multiple means of engagement as far as recruiting interest, sustaining effort and persistence, and then self-regulation. Now these principles are broken down, or these guidelines are broken down into additional points. So each principle then for like looking at representation, so looking at perception, so we need to offer ways of customizing the display of information. That's the size of the text, the contrast between the background, the color used for information emphasis. A lot of this goes to providing the information in a format that is not set and fixed, where the user has control over font size, over the colors used, without having to take information out and running some additional conversions themselves. Some browsers have certain high contrast settings, but the text needs to be in the browser and displayed as text, not as an image scanned from a book. So it's all possible. We need to find originals, that sort of thing. Just looking at how we lay things out. Offering alternatives for auditory information. Using text equivalents in the form of captions or automated speech to text. Now, one thing for higher education, captioning is required to be at above a 95% accuracy rate. So generally the automated speech to text translations or services don't quite hit that benchmark. However, Sam Houston has a contract with a captioning and transcriptioning company that will help us do that. It uses an automated version as the first pass, and then they come through and clean it up. To provide visual diagrams, charts, and notations of music or sound. Someone may not be able to hear music, but can read a score and understand that. provide written transcripts for videos or auditory clips. Sometimes you can't, we have videos that we want to show that we don't have access to apply captioning to, but we can provide a transcript for them. Or if there is a spoken clip, a living history interview, that sort of thing, we can get a transcript for that instead. Providing that helps not just those who can't hear or might have difficulty hearing without a device, but some people can hear but have trouble processing the information. If we provide them the whole class these transcripts, the rest of the students have, again, multiple ways of going over things. If they've listened to the interview once but want to review it again, they can look over the transcript instead. We have the capacity to provide American Sign Language translation as necessary on the campus. So these sort of things. Then we need to provide options for language, mathematics, and expression. So we need to clarify the vocabulary and the symbols, the syntax and structure, support decoding text, so promoting understanding across languages. So this could just be, we have more and more people attending Sam Houston from international backgrounds where words may mean different things. So it requires us to become slightly more global in how we teach, so that our education that we're providing to our students has more value to our students who are entering a global society. Then using multiple media to illustrate concepts. And third, to provide options for comprehension, background knowledge, to highlight patterns, critical features, to not presume that everyone knows the things that we do or that has the background that we have. Looking at multiple means of action and expression to vary the methods for response and navigation. So to allow differences for timings, provide alternates for physically responding for students that might have difficulty in that way, and for how to interact with materials. So some students may have some sort of mobility issue or difficulty using a keyboard, so we need to make sure that what we're doing has support for that. Using multiple media for communication. So don't just put information in a video that's required. Make sure that it's also provided in a written format of some sort. If you have something in a written format, but there's some way to illustrate that, either using a video or using a drawing, provide that as well. To use social tools, discussion forums, chats, that sort of stuff, to allow them different means of communicating and interacting back and forth with you and with other students. Provide multiple tools for construction. Again, to build fluency with graduated levels of support. And then different options for executive function to allow them, to guide them in goal setting, to give them support, planning, and strategizing, to help give them access to managing information and resources. Some of this could even be handled by embedding a librarian in your course. And then try to increase your capacity for monitoring their progress. And then finding for engagement. Look for ways where they have some choices and autonomy in their learning, some sort of reward, context, or content used for practicing and assessing skills. Look to see what your students respond to, and this isn't a matter of spoon feeding them, but to look at what works for a broad range of students, and to include more of these things. To look at the relevance, to try to tie what you're teaching to things that are going on around them, or to things they may be interested in, to show the importance of it. To not presume that they understand how what you're trying to convey to them fits into either their past life experience or what their future life experience is going to be. And then talking about minimizing threats and distractions to try to create a supportive classroom client, whether online or face-to-face, to vary the level of how new or how risky something is, to make sure that they know and have good calendars and schedules, that you've been using the due date function and course availability and setting expectations so they know where they stand, uh, and to provide options for sustaining the effort. Okay, to bring up the goals and objectives, to make sure that the goals and that you set, that you're including those through the course in different points, and point out how the different things are doing or tying back to the purpose of the course. Uh, to foster collaboration and communication, that the students can work with each other. It could be that how another student explains something is better understood by one student than how you've presented it, to allow them to talk with each other and work it out, and you can then monitor that and make sure that they are staying on the right path. And to orient your feedback towards mastery. That's the goal is to the feedback needs to be relevant and timely. So, and then finally to provide options for self-regulation. So give them expectations, facilitate personal coping skills, and then to develop self-assessment and reflection.